Some think he was chasing a lost love. Others reckon he was a smuggler. Some say he was a Cold War spy. 60 years later, an electronic engineer professor fell in love with not just this mystery, but a girl. A girl who held the key to what once seemed like the unsolvable mystery. We finally cracked the puzzle after 70 years. This is the story of the Somerton Man. It is November 30th, 1948, about 7:15 p.m., and a couple is out for a leisurely walk along Somerton Park Beach, just outside Adelaide, South Australia. Waves are gently lapping, and that is when they spot a man in a sharp brown suit propped against the seawall. It looks like he is resting. He even gives them a half-hearted wave, but the couple just chuckle, thinking he has had one too many to drink. The next morning, two jockeys doing their usual routine, training their horses on the beach, see the same man, still as a statue, lying there on the sand. Now, that is strange, right? So Neil Day, one of the jockeys, walks over for a closer look. But when he tries to nudge the guy, nothing. And that is how the mystery of the Somerton Man began. Right there on the sunny shores of Adelaide back in December 1948. When authorities arrived on the scene, they transported the body to the Royal Adelaide Hospital for examination. The doctor in charge estimated that the man likely passed away around 2 a.m. that morning. At first glance, he appeared to be your average Joe, mid-40s, 5'11", with gray eyes and reddish-brown hair. He looked sharp, well put together, with clean fingernails, soft hands, and a smooth-shaven face. However, upon closer inspection, a couple of irregularities caught the eye of one of the medical examiners. Firstly, the man had unusually pronounced calf muscles. Another peculiarity, a staggering 16 teeth were missing from his mouth. When they delved into the man's pockets, hoping to uncover some clues about his identity, they came up short. No wallet, no ID. All they found were a pack of cigarettes and matches, 2 combs, a packet of chewing gum, and a couple of travel tickets. An unused stub from Adelaide to Henley Beach, a nearby town, and a bus ticket stub from Adelaide to Somerton. But it was the man's clothing that really deepened the mystery. It was common back then for folks to have their names or initials on their clothes labels for laundry purposes. But all the labels from the man's suit had been snipped off, meticulously removed. Even the name tags from the undervest were also removed. And there was something else peculiar. A tear in his pant pocket had been neatly stitched back together using bright orange thread. The autopsy revealed some troubling findings: an enlarged spleen and a damaged liver. The pathologist suspected heart failure, but oddly enough, the man's heart appeared completely normal. Toxology tests came back negative. No poison found in his system. No signs of violence either. No disturbance in the sand around him, and no scratches on his body. The coroner was stumped. Whatever took the Somerton man's life, it was not natural. It sure was not an accident. Before the police could even begin to untangle who might have been behind the Somerton man's demise, they had to grapple with the question of who he was in the first place. His photo made its way into Australian newspapers, a silent plea for someone, anyone, to step forward and claim him as kin. Intrigued by the mystery, crowds flocked to the morgue, hoping for a glimpse of his face. Time and again, individuals emerged from the shadows, swearing they knew the Somerton Man, yet each lead fizzled into nothingness. Then came a twist. A newspaper boldly declared that the man found on Somerton Beach was none other than E.C. Johnson. But lo and behold, E.C. Johnson himself strolled into the police station, setting the record straight. Fingerprints were taken from the Somerton Man, but unfortunately, no match was found. Still undeterred, the police circulated his photo far and wide. Dozens of calls flooded in, each claiming familiarity with the mysterious man. He was a missing relative, a vanished husband, a guardian outside illicit card games, a familiar face from the military testing facility up north. A local paper even quipped that the police were running an almost constant taxi service to ferry people to and from the morgue, all eager for a glimpse of the enigmatic figure. But as quickly as hopes rose, they fell. People who were convinced they knew him changed their tune upon seeing him in the flesh. And so he remained the Somerton Man, a mystery that seemed to deepen with each passing day. Investigators would spend years, even decades, grappling with his identity and the events surrounding his demise. Theories swirled. He was a Cold War spy, a former dancer, a victim of a love gone sour. It became one of Australia's most perplexing and enduring cold cases, a tale that would captivate generations to come. About a month after stumbling upon his body, investigators shifted their focus to the Somerton Man's meager possessions. Sure, he had those travel tickets and a few knickknacks, but no luggage to speak of. So the police cast their net wide, putting out notices for abandoned luggage at hotels and train stations. They scoured dry cleaners, bus stops, lost property offices, anywhere a bag might find itself abandoned. Then, like a stroke of luck, on January 14, 1949, just 3 days after the call went out, they struck gold. A dark brown suitcase left at the Adelaide train station caught their eye. According to the luggage tag, it had been checked in around 11 a.m. on November 30th, the very same day the Somerton Man was discovered on the beach. Upon prying it open, investigators found a curious mishmash of items: handkerchiefs, scissors, a knife, shaving gear. But it was a humble spool of thread that set their minds racing. An unknown brand not found in Australia, and in a shade of orange identical to the thread used to mend the Somerton Man's pocket. Coincidence? Unlikely. But wait, there is more. Tucked amidst the odds and ends was a stencil brush, a tool typically wielded by a third officer in the Navy. Yet strangely, alongside this maritime clue, they unearthed drafting pencils, the kind favored by engineers. And then there were the clothes. Shirts, underpants, a coat, all matching the Somerton Man's size and style, all with their labels meticulously removed, except for 3. Among them, a tie with a name scrawled on the label in faded ink. It looked like T. Keene. Finally, a glimmer of hope. The police had a potential lead, a possible name for the Somerton Man. Records were combed through in English-speaking nations far and wide, including the United States, where the man's coat originated from. Yet, despite their efforts, no trace of a missing person by that name could be found anywhere. It seemed the man was determined to keep his identity hidden, leaving investigators grasping at straws in their quest for answers. Yet, with over 6 months having passed since his demise, it was time for the Somerton Man to find his rest. But not before investigators preserved his one tangible clue: his face. They had him embalmed and crafted a plaster cast of his head and shoulders, a final homage to a man whose identity remained as elusive as ever. On June 14, 1949, the Somerton Man was laid to rest in a cemetery in Adelaide. His identity remained elusive, buried beneath a concrete vault. The tombstone bore a simple inscription: "Here lies the unknown man who was found at Somerton Beach." Despite the burial, authorities were no closer to unraveling the mystery that shrouded him in uncertainty. By April of 1949, the police found themselves at a standstill. Nearly 5 months had slipped by since the discovery of the body, and they were no closer to unraveling the mystery. Frustrated and desperate for a breakthrough, they turned to Professor John Cleland, a pathology expert at the University of Adelaide, to take a fresh look at the evidence. Professor Cleland's approach was nothing short of ingenious. Recognizing the challenge of determining if the clothes from the suitcase would fit the Somerton Man's lifeless frame, he devised a clever solution. He enlisted someone of similar size to the Somerton Man and had them try on both sets of clothes, the ones the man was found in and those from the suitcase. Miraculously, they fit like a glove, confirming without a shadow of a doubt that the suitcase did belong to him. But that was not all. While inspecting the Somerton Man's garments, Professor Cleland stumbled upon a hidden pocket in the trousers. Inside lay a rolled-up scrap of paper bearing just 2 words: "Tamam Shud." Printed boldly, these Persian words stirred nothing in the professor's memory. The meaning behind this was quite puzzling, and nobody at the station understood what it meant. Then, a well-read newspaper reporter explained that it originated from a book by Omar Khayyam, the renowned 12th century poet. Specifically, they were from his book called Rubaiyat. The words Tamam Shud means the end. With this new insight, investigators speculated that the Somerton Man had left behind this cryptic clue to signify he took his own life, or perhaps to ponder life's deeper meanings in his final hours. Interestingly, the Rubaiyat was widely cherished during that era. In 1909, 2 skilled English bookbinders were hired to rebind the first edition of the Rubaiyat, adorning it with over 1,000 precious and semi-precious stones, including gold leaf, silver, and ivory. This exquisite edition was purchased by an American buyer for an equivalent of around $70,000 today. Unfortunately, that particular book met its fate on the Titanic, sinking during its voyage to America, and has remained lost ever since. But that is not the book the investigators were after. They wanted the very book the scroll was torn from. They contacted every library in the Adelaide area, seeking help from librarians to examine their copies of the Rubaiyat for any missing pages. If the scrap came from a unique printing, finding the exact book seemed like an insurmountable challenge, until a stroke of luck intervened. On July 24, 1949, a chemist walked into the Adelaide police station holding a copy of the Rubaiyat he had discovered in his car months earlier, around the time the Somerton Man met his fate. Initially dismissing it, he became intrigued when the newspapers published the mysterious scrap. Turning to the final page, he revealed the missing words, Tamam Shud. The tear in the book perfectly matched the fragment from the Somerton Man's pocket, providing a breakthrough authorities had been desperately seeking. Further examination of the book yielded another intriguing lead, a faintly penciled telephone number on the back cover. The telephone number belonged to a young nurse living near Somerton Beach, just a short stroll from where the man was discovered. And that is how Jessica Thompson became a person of interest. When police confronted Jessica, her reaction was as mysterious as the case itself. She denied any affiliation with the Somerton Man. Investigators were essentially at a loss, and no further leads emerged. Then, they decided to bring her in to look at the cast of the Somerton Man. She appeared visibly shaken at the sight of the plaster cast of the Somerton Man's face. She oscillated between stunned silence and vague responses. The chief inspector noted her near collapse, extending a hand to steady her before realizing she could stand on her own. But her evasiveness only fueled the investigators' determination to peel back the layers of secrecy surrounding her. The puzzle of Jessica Thompson's phone number in the Somerton Man's Rubaiyat weighed heavily on investigators. Pressed for answers, Jessica finally came clean. During World War II, she worked at a Sydney hospital where she crossed paths with an Australian Army officer named Alfred Boxall. She was vague about their relationship, but she confessed to gifting him a copy of the Rubaiyat. Police thought they had a breakthrough, only to find out Boxall was alive and well, and in possession of the Rubaiyat Jessica had given him. But this book was a different edition from the Somerton Man's. It bore Jessica's signature, along with a handwritten line of poetry. Returning to the mysterious pencil inscription, investigators uncovered more than just phone numbers. Below them lay a series of barely discernible letters. Under an ultraviolet light, the message became clearer. 5 rows of seemingly random capital letters, with some crossed out. It dawned on them. It was a code. The Rubaiyat was forwarded to Australia's naval intelligence, renowned for deciphering wartime messages. Hoping for a breakthrough, police also reached out to the public by publishing the cryptic message in newspapers. Yet even the experts at naval intelligence struggled to crack the code. The code perplexed everyone, spawning theories from a ship's name to a message of despair. Despite collective efforts, no conclusive explanation emerged. In 1958, a decade after the Somerton Man's discovery, police officially closed their investigation. However, the allure of an unsolved demise coupled with a mysterious code continued to fuel conspiracy theories. Like many unresolved mysteries, the Somerton case left a trail of unanswered questions and endless speculation, captivating the imaginations of those who dared to ponder its secrets. During the 1940s, Australia found itself deeply entangled in espionage, being part of the British Commonwealth and a crucial ally in the Allied forces during World War II. Intelligence agencies intercepted messages from enemy nations, playing a vital role in ending the conflict. Post-war, as the world divided along ideological lines of capitalism versus communism, the race for military technology supremacy intensified. Regarding the Somerton Man, certain case details hinted that he might not be an ordinary citizen. He meticulously concealed his identity, with all clothing found on him and in the suitcase lacking labels. Only a few items bore the name Keane, which ultimately proved fruitless. His nationality remained a puzzle. While some speculated he was British based on his facial features and hairstyle, Others suggested American ties due to the origin of his coat. Yet the presence of an American-made coat did not definitively brand him a spy. It is plausible that the Somerton Man had visited America for leisure or family reasons before his mysterious demise. But that was not the only clue pointing to a foreign identity. There was also the peculiar orange thread used to mend his pants, a brand not sold in Australia. This suggested extensive travel, painting the Somerton Man as an international enigma. The question then arose, what was he doing in Adelaide, a remote city along Australia's southern coast? The answer might lie about 300 kilometers north, at the Woomera Air Force Complex. Woomera, a joint base between Australia and the United Kingdom, boasted the largest land-based test range in the Western world. Established in 1947, it covered a sprawling 47,000 square miles of flat, arid land, roughly the size of Pennsylvania. The base housed highly secretive facilities, conducting some of Britain's most sensitive military projects, including missile, rocket, and atomic bomb testing. If this speculation holds true, South Australia would likely have been a hotbed for espionage activity. It is conceivable that the Somerton Man was an Australian spy who knew too much. Perhaps he became loyal to the Soviets and needed to be silenced. Alternatively, he could have been a Soviet operative seeking defection, but met his demise before he could act. This brings us back to the mysterious circumstances of his end. During the investigation, medical experts found no trace of poison in the man's system, at least none detectable by conventional means. One explanation was that he ingested or was administered something that instantly decomposed, leaving no evidence. Another theory suggested injection, yet no signs of puncture wounds were found. The condition of his liver did not support this notion. Seeking answers, the coroner consulted Sir Cedric Stanton Hicks, a professor of physiology and pharmacology at the University of Adelaide. Hicks scribbled down the names of suspected poisons on a piece of paper for the coroner. Among them was strophanthin, a potent substance historically used by some West African tribes to create poison arrows. Fatal, even in small doses, it was undetectable by standard chemical tests. In 2013, Jessica Thompson's daughter, Kate, disclosed that her mother had a command of the Russian language, a detail Jessica had never shared with anyone. Furthermore, Jessica confessed to Kate that she had misled the police regarding the identity of the Somerton Man. Jessica hinted that the matter extended beyond the jurisdiction of the police, suggesting involvement in a higher echelon. This revelation sparked speculation that Jessica might have been engaged in counter-espionage activities for the Australian government. She was possibly relaying intelligence to military authorities, with the Rubaiyat serving as a crucial component. However, if even the most adept codebreakers were unable to decipher the cryptic message, the question remained, who possessed the key? Derek Abbott first encountered the Somerton Man's story in a magazine article back in 1995. Despite his initial intrigue, his professional obligations as an electrical engineering professor at Adelaide University prevented him from delving deeper into the mystery. It was not until 2007 when Derek revisited the story and learned of the unsolved code found in the man's possession that his interest was reignited. Despite 6 years of investigation by code-breaking experts, the puzzle remained unsolved. Undeterred, Derek shifted his focus to unraveling a different enigma, the identity of Jessica. For decades, the true identity of the enigmatic nurse remained shrouded in secrecy, a real name redacted from official records to shield her from public attention. Derek enlisted the help of Jerry Feltus, an Adelaide detective, who provided the original piece of paper bearing Jessica's phone number found in the Somerton Man's book. Through meticulous investigation, Derek unveiled Jessica's true identity: Jessica Thompson, known as Jo. Unfortunately, Jessica had passed away before Derek could question her about her connection to the Somerton Man. Delving into Jessica's history, Derek discovered that she had been romantically involved with a local man named Prosper Thompson, with whom she had a son named Robin in 1947, a year and a half before the Somerton Man's demise. Despite Jessica's claims that Prosper was Robin's father, speculation arose regarding the paternity of her child, particularly given her evasiveness during police questioning. This led Derek to a groundbreaking theory: the Somerton Man was Robin's biological father. Upon further investigation, Derek unearthed compelling evidence supporting his theory. Robin, like the Somerton Man, exhibited unique physical traits, including a genetic disorder called hypodontia and distinctive ear structures. Moreover, both had backgrounds in ballet, with Robin even having performed with the Australian Ballet Company. These findings suggested a familial connection between Robin and the Somerton Man. It was further supported by the discovery of Robin's daughter, Rachel Egan, potentially being the Somerton Man's granddaughter. Rachel's journey into her family's past, intertwined with one of Australia's greatest enigmas, was nothing short of remarkable. As she delved deeper into her ancestry, she uncovered layers of mystery that connected her to the unknown man found on Somerton Beach. Despite initial skepticism, Rachel agreed to a meeting with Derek Abbott. Their shared curiosity and determination led to an unexpected bond, a spark that eventually blossomed into a love story that surpassed even the most enduring mysteries. Derek and Rachel got married in 2010 and have 3 children together. The most sensible approach was to exhume the remains of the Somerton Man to extract DNA. Derek made several requests, but each time the request was denied to exhume the remains. However, in 2015, Derek found another way. He discovered some of the Somerton Man's hair still embedded in the plaster cast made in the 1940s. Derek sent these hairs to a laboratory at the University of Adelaide. He hoped there was enough genetic material to test against Rachel's DNA. Unfortunately, the results were inconclusive, and scientists could not generate a complete DNA sequence from the limited sample. But in 2021, Derek's hope was reignited when the Australian government finally exhumed the Somerton Man. On May 18, 2021, a team with heavy machinery arrived at Adelaide's West Terrace Cemetery. It took nearly 12 hours to extract the Somerton Man from the ground. Being deceased for over 70 years meant most of his organic matter had deteriorated, and on top of that, he had been embalmed. This involves replacing the body's natural fluids with preservatives. While this preservation technique was beneficial for maintaining the body's condition, it also degraded the DNA. There was a possibility that there might not be enough viable DNA left to obtain a sample. In 2022, Derek collaborated with Colleen Fitzpatrick, and they meticulously traced the genetic breadcrumbs left behind by the Somerton Man, the hair on the plaster cast. As they pieced together his family tree, one name stood out. A man fitting the Somerton Man's description, with a brother-in-law named Thomas Keene, matched the name found on the mysterious clothing. Derek and Colleen located nieces and nephews of the Somerton Man. They gathered DNA samples from their living descendants, and on July 22, 2022, they found two matches. Stuart Webb, Somerton Man's great-great-nephew, and Christy Webb, his grandniece. The discovery sent shockwaves through the investigative community. It reignited hope that the identity of the Somerton Man was on the verge of being unveiled. His name was Carl Charles Webb, an electrical engineer born in Melbourne, Australia in November 1905. As the details of Webb's life unraveled, it became apparent that his story was far from ordinary. He was part of a large family with 6 siblings. Newspaper reports from that time indicated that he participated in community football. This could account for his well-developed calves and overall physique. Leading up to his demise, Charles experienced major loss in life. His father and mother passed away, along with his brother Roy, with whom he shared a close bond. Additionally, Charles also went through a separation with his wife Dorothy Robertson, whom he married around 1941. Their marriage was difficult, as detailed in Dorothy's divorce decree filed later. Charles had a passion for writing poetry, often centered around the theme of fatality. Once, Dorothy found him drenched in ether in bed. He ingested 50 sleeping pills, but she saved his life. Contrary to wild speculation, Charles's story unveils a tale of domestic tragedy rather than espionage intrigue. In April 1947, Webb vanished without a trace, leaving behind a shattered family and a cloud of mystery. While DNA evidence pointed strongly to Webb's identity, the South Australia Police Department continued its own testing to verify the identification. However, the lack of official confirmation left room for speculation, keeping the door open to conspiracy theories that had long surrounded the case. Despite the lingering uncertainties, Derek Abbott found closure in his own quest. DNA testing ruled out any relation between his wife Rachel and the Somerton Man. This alleviated the personal burden he had carried for years. For the Webb family, the revelation brought a mix of emotions: relief, closure, and a sense of reclaiming a lost piece of their history. Stuart and Christy Webb, great-great-nephew and grandniece of Charles Webb, delved into old family albums. They rediscovered photos of Charles that had long been forgotten. Back then, there was a big family gathering involving all members of the Webb family. This photo was basically taken 20 years before he lost his life. Through their journey, Charles Webb transformed from a mysterious figure in headlines to a cherished member of their family. He is a person whose story resonated far beyond the confines of a cold case, but as a testament to the enduring power of familial bonds. A large part of the Somerton Man case has been solved. We now know his identity, but unfortunately, a lot of answers went to the grave with him. We might never know the circumstances that led to his demise.